Hello, Claire.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, I'm happy to do it.
Do you want to give our audience a quick introduction of who you are?
Yeah, my name is Claire Siemietkowski. I live in Brooklyn. I am 26. I work in nonprofit, and I guess I can say I'm an aspiring comic. I don't know, Pablo. Pablo, you can attest to that, I guess.
Yeah, you're definitely trying. Not quite there though.
No, I mean, hence the aspiring. That's a key word.
I'm kidding. You're actually pretty funny. That time, what was the place in Hell's Kitchen where you went up for the first time?
God, I forget. I mean, appropriately, I forget what it was called, probably because I was minimum 5 drinks in.
Yeah,
Um,
we were all pretty drunk.
it was really little. It was across the street from that kind of Hawaiian themed bar.
Yeah, it's not far from Rudy's, right?
Yeah, because we went there after. Yeah, I can't remember. If I saw it on maps or if I walked past it, I would know.
But you do have a show from Gotham online, don't you?
I do, yeah.
So if people
Um,
wanted to watch that, how do they find it?
It's actually not on YouTube, but I have a link that I sent to people that I'm trying to wheel and deal with.
It's a private link.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know because I kind of am like I don't want everyone from my work to have access to that.
Ah. So you do nonprofit stuff, and are you afraid that the wrong person's gonna find out that you're throwing coffee on people?
Yeah, yeah, that I'm absolutely menacing strangers on the subway. I don't know. I think I just am some stuff I like to keep more private, but I think eventually I'm just gonna make it public and create a website and fully commit. But I think that was the very beginning of when I started comedy, and I'm still in the beginning, and so it was like baby steps. I was ready for everyone that at Gotham that night to see that and certain people to see it, but for it to be available on the World Wide Web, I guess
You
I
weren't ready for that
yeah, but
commitment.
I think I would be now. I don't know. I think I need to show it to my parents. I don't think that they would like it, but at a certain point,
Wait,
would it
you
matter?
haven't told your parents that you were doing
Oh, no. I told them, but they haven't seen the set.
do you think they would not approve of it? Like
Um,
in real life and not just
yeah, I don't think they would. I don't think like their approval is necessarily important to me. I just don't want it to fray our relationship.
gotcha. So this might be a stupid question, but Siemietkowski, what is
Mhm.
that?
Polish?
Oh, Polish.
Mhm.
Are you from Poland?
No, my dad's side of the family is. I think my grandparents came over from Poland, and an iteration of our last name is at Ellis Island. So I think they came through our very beloved New York City, even. Um, and at family gatherings, we sing like Polish songs and stuff, and we sometimes have traditional Polish meals and such. But um, I'm not like super connected to. I don't speak Polish or anything.
What is a Polish meal? Just sausages?
Kielbasa, yeah, and sauerkraut. And there's this breakfast sausage called scrapple, and it's like all of the undesirable parts of the pig that they like won't put in pork.
That sounds like a hot dog?
It's worse. It's worse. It's
Why
like
why is it
they
worse?
wouldn't even put it in a hot dog because it's like I don't even know, and I think that's kind of the allure of it maybe, but it's like the nasty shit.
Huh.
I don't eat it.
So you don't partake in this unwanted hot dog event?
No, I don't. Pierogi is a big part of Polish food. You've probably had that.
No, I am not familiar with food from Europe in general, other than
Mhm.
potatoes.
Well, it is a potato-oriented dish. It's basically a dumpling, and inside is potato and cheese, and you eat it with sour cream. It's all very heavy food. The pierogies are good. The scrapple I'll skip on.
Well, food like that was designed to pretty much last you all day, right? So you eat 1 or 2 meals and then you work.
Right. But when we have it, it's like at Christmas dinner, and so it's 6 p.m. at the end of the day. We've already eaten that day. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not living the lifestyle of a traditional Polish woman.
You're not eating this stuff every day?
No, I'm not. It's a good thing.
So I have a question for you
Hmm.
because I just had this conversation actually yesterday. Would you consider a hot dog
Oh
a
God.
sandwich?
Do you know how many times I've had this conversation? Do you know like the
Wait, you've
price?
had this more than once?
Oh my God. Yeah. I actually,
Who are you hanging out with?
well, so my friends and I discuss this kind of shit all the time, but actually once I was at that speakeasy in the East Village, that hot dog place. What's it called? It's like on,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Please don't tell.
yeah, please don't tell. And was waiting in line for a hot dog. And then the man next to me, I think he asked me that, and we got into like a full blown argument, somehow ended up and giving me his business card as if, we were going to continue it like over a business call. I have no idea. But in short, a hot dog is not a sandwich, it's its own category. Like you wouldn't go into a Subway sandwiches franchise and get a hot dog.
Well, Subway doesn't even sell bread.
What do you mean?
Did you see that Ireland declared Subway bread to not be real bread?
What? What? Okay, I have a lot of questions. First of all, what authority does Ireland have to declare Subway's bread bread or not bread?
So apparently, I believe, and I skimmed through the article here, so I may be lying a little bit, but in order for Subway to not pay taxes on bread, their bread cannot contain more than 2% sugar per pound per
Oh,
flour, something like that. And I believe on average it was like 10% sugar.
that that is interesting. That is not surprising to me given how potent the smell of their bread is. But I will say that Subway is nothing without its bread because I think that's really what the store is, that infamous smell of their bread. Um, that that is disappointing to me.
And how long have you lived in New York?
For 4 years.
And where did you live before here?
I had just graduated college, so I went to University of Virginia and then graduated in 2016, and then lived in DC with my parents for the summer, and then found a job on I accepted my job on a Friday, and I was starting that Monday, so I just drove up on Sunday and moved to New York.
Did you want to live in New York?
I didn't know. My senior year of college, I was kind of open to anything. I knew I wanted to be in the States. I had just spent about 8 months in France and I loved it, but I really wanted a working experience in the US and I wanted to be closer to my family. I was thinking maybe New York, maybe DC, because that's where I went to high school, maybe SF. When I got really desperate, I started applying to things in Boston, which I don't like the cold, so that's funny. It's pretty bad. So New York was always a front runner for me, but it's not like I had my sights set on New York and it was that or bust. I thank God because I really can't imagine living anywhere else, at least right now.
What about even with the pandemic, right? Supposedly, 5, 10% of the population in New York City has disappeared.
I know. Yeah. I It's definitely different. I think I feel it less because I'm not going out as much. Like I'm in my apartment most of the time. I'm working from home. But it definitely makes it feel emptier. And it feels like the people that have not been in the city as long and kind of people that are like, oh, I'm going to move to New York they say I'm going to do New York, do New York for 2 years and then move somewhere else. I feel like a lot of those people left the city for quarantine. Yeah, it was just interesting to watch the city clear out pretty rapidly and pretty drastically, and yeah, it was just interesting.
Aside from having to work from home, I mean, how has the pandemic affected you?
I mean, I've been very fortunate that I still have a job. I'm able to work fully from home. So, in that sense, personally, it hasn't affected me significantly. None of my immediate family members have become gravely ill with the virus. Um, but I feel like it's kind of brought everything to a halt, and I think it's gotten a little bit better now that I've adjusted, and I think I have a better idea of how long this will last. Or maybe I don't, but I just have accepted that it we might not know, and that is just something I have to deal with. But in the beginning, I remember there was all the scuttle. Do you think we'll go back to work after? Okay, it'll just be a month. Okay, do you think we'll go back after Memorial Day? If not Memorial Day, after July 4th. And we were just putting it off. And that was such a tease for my brain. And I think had I known, it was going to be more or less indefinite, that I would have been much better like mentally because I would have been able to prepare myself for to do this for a longer period of time. So it was definitely hard, and my roommate left after 2 weeks of working from home. So I think being alone for so long took its toll. Um, and yeah, it was tough. It wasn't until I left the city at the end of June to go to the beach for a couple weeks that I felt like I kind of got a little bit of relief. But I also found comfort in staying in the city because so much was changing so rapidly that it was nice to have a constant in my life that was, my environment. So it was tough. I mean, it's hard to gripe when comparatively I'm very fortunate in the situation, but I do feel kind of like I had some momentum with comedy, living in New York in my 20s. I sitting in my apartment all day, it sucks.
You mean that's not ideal?
Yeah, for me that's not why I moved to New York and pay the fortune I do in rent.
How
But
long do you
yeah,
think it'll be then before things get back to semi-normal at least?
I mean, I struggle with this question because what is semi-normal? Because so many people are saying, things will never be the same. And I think that's true to an extent, but I don't know what that means necessarily. I think in terms of going back into my office, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't go back until there is a vaccine kind of widely available, which I don't like. I honestly have no idea. We could go back in April of next year. We could go back in September of next year. I I feel like every month something so freaking crazy happens that to speculate about April 2021, that's like an imaginary time at this point. I'm like, let me just get through tonight.
No, that absolutely. It's I remember in the beginning people were thinking, "All right, cool, and a month or so of shutdown and then we'll kind of open back up," right? Like you were mentioning. And then here we are 6 months, you know, 7 months in and there's no end in sight. And you're right. I mean, most people have just said, "Okay, we'll hunker down until 2021, 2022, whenever it may be."
Yeah. And I think it's especially weird because a lot of my friends have let their leases expire in New York and they just are kind of bopping around being vagabonds, exploring different parts of the country while lockdown, I guess, is still kind of happening. Um, so it feels like a lot of my friends have upped their roots from New York, and that is kind of weird too. And then there's speculation like, oh, are you even going to come back? And it just is a lot of uncertainty.
What about in terms of comedy? When do you think you'll be able to perform indoors? Or actually, you performed outdoors not too long ago, right?
I did, yeah.
Where can we find that video?
That there isn't a video, and you know what? I didn't record myself because they called me a little bit early because I guess the two people before me in the lineup weren't there. So I was like fumbling with my phone and I didn't have time to start the recording. And anyway, I was stressed. But I in Long Island City. Production was great. Indoors, so Eastville Comedy Club on Atlantic, they're doing indoor mics at 25% capacity. And some places are doing indoor, but I really don't know if that's going to continue in the winter. I feel like there's this big question mark around flu season and COVID, and who knows what that's going to do for live performance. But I'm not overly optimistic.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right? Is now that it's getting cold, flu season is coming around, the city has decided to open up.
Well, the city opened up like in June or July.
I mean, in terms of indoor dining,
Oh
indoor,
yeah, yeah.
it just seems irresponsible.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think that it's gonna there those things are gonna be open for 2 weeks and then close back up again. I really have no idea. And I feel like at the beginning of this, I speculated so much, and then obviously it was all futile and it didn't change anything, not that I expected it to, but at this point I'm just kind of a little bit resigned to whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, and I just need to survive,
Yeah.
make the best of it. There's Zoom comedy, which I don't like. I don't think anyone actively likes it.
Have you participated in any of them?
I did one Zoom mic, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it just is weird. Like you do stand up. I mean, you know how important it is to have some energy from the audience, even if it's like they think you're the least funny person they've ever heard. Like you need that response, and it was just kind of weird. So I think,
It's a relationship, right?
yeah, yeah, it is a give and take. So maybe in the winter, I've been thinking about doing more writing as opposed to focusing on live performing. And that's why while outdoor mics and shows are still happening, I've been trying to write more stand up and practice that because I don't think that I'll have the opportunity to keep doing that, in 2 months.
How often were you doing open mics before the pandemic?
I would say like maybe once every 2 weeks. Not super often. I remember I was at this one mic and I met this kid man, he's a grown man. He, he was saying he goes to 4 mics a night and he's like really hustling, like trying to do the New York comedy scene, whatever. He just moved to New York. And I was like, should I go to like 1, 2 every 2 weeks? So I wasn't doing as much as I probably should have been, but I also didn't know that a global pandemic was around the corner. So I think I would have acted differently had I known.
Yeah, hypothetically speaking, let's say June next year, everything opens up, vaccine, the miracle that Trump promised finally occurs. How serious are you about getting back on stage and kind of pursuing that, career?
I am serious about it, and that's why I'm doing it now. I am hopefully doing 2 mics on Saturday. Both are outside. The thing is now I mean, you had to sign up before, but I think they're a little bit more competitive to get because, um,
Well, the amount of open mics available are
yeah, yeah,
hard to
supply
come
is
by.
exceeding demand. That's my bachelor's of arts in economics coming through. So it's a little bit harder to get a spot. But yeah, I mean, I'll take it very seriously, and I want to get out there and like be in shows and just perform more and get better. Oh my god, I told you, the mic that I did a couple weeks ago, it left something to be desired.
I I referenced this earlier, but still the one that stuck with me is you throwing coffee on a stranger in a subway just to get their number.
Yeah, I haven't actually done that yet, believe it or not, but in COVID times, you get desperate. It's harder to meet people. At what point will I throw a scalding hot beverage on a stranger? It's probably right around the corner, to be honest. Yeah. If someone comes up to me and like starts talking to me about their job, I'm like, look, unless you want a job where I work and you're just trying to network, like stop. I
What if they're a comedian and they want to talk to you about their job?
Well, that's different
So depending on the job.
depending on the job. Yeah, I guess that's an
So rumor has it
uh-oh.
that you want, or maybe you are, a hand model.
Oh my god, that sentence could have gone in so many different directions. In addition to aspiring comic, you can add aspiring hand model to my bio. One of my friends once like asked everyone to send a photo of their hands because they wanted to judge who had the nicest looking hands. And
Hold on. Who was this?
this was a friend of mine.
That just sounds weird. Hey, everybody, send me a picture of your hands.
This is the inner workings of a female mind. Pablo, welcome. Um, so everyone, 8 of us, sent photos of our hands, and I was selected as the front runner in that contest. So that it just groomed my ego. But then I was watching Jeopardy, and one of the, when Alex Trebek goes up and talks to someone to like get to know them for 60 seconds. Um, this contestant's story was that she was a hand model, and I was like, that's peculiar. And I was being very resourceful, so I went to www.google.com and I looked up the salary for a hand model. It's pretty handsome considering, it's just someone taking photos of your hand, which I'm sure there's an art to it, whatever, whatever. But I was like,
Do you remember what the dollar range was for that type of profession?
it was max 72K. Which, you know what? I
That was the max?
Yeah, it was a hand model can make up to $72,000 a year, according to Google.
Huh. I would have thought it would be higher.
Well, we can't all be working for the man.
Well, I mean, I think it would take a lot for someone to look at hands and say, you know what, that's a beautiful hand. So those have to be rare, right?
I don't know. So I looked into it, and you need an agent like you would for any other type of modeling, which is so funny to me that there are hand modeling agents, but they're out there. And so I have started to put together some sort of portfolio. It does include still and video images of my hands. Um, so I'm editing them and then I guess send them to agents. I don't really know how that next part works. So if you know anyone that's a hand modeling agent, Pablo, feel free to connect me with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, anybody who's listening and knows a hand model agent, please contact Claire.
And I have some sample photos that I can send you right off the bat.
You've got a whole portfolio put together.
Yeah. I need to take more photos, but I've got the beginning of a portfolio.
Could you imagine traveling back in time and telling someone who works 10 hours a day on a farm every day that you make a living by showing off your hands?
You're trying to make me feel really shitty and lazy right now. And what I'm actually doing is working smarter, not harder, so I can make money doing something that is what I think will probably be pretty easy, not time consuming. So then I can have time and money to focus on the stuff that I really want to work on.
I am not judging at all.
If I jet back to 1600 and they judge me for not, contributing anything valuable to society, look, I'm
Do
not
you think
fucked.
they would frown upon you, or would they be jealous of you?
I don't really care. I
You're
don't
like,
think
I
I'm
don't
gonna
give
be
a
jealous.
shit. I'm a hand model. I don't have to deal with this.
This vapid, stupid bitch, but I don't know.
I mean, what's more silly? Making money showing off your hands or making money off of standing up in front of a crowd and making jokes?
Definitely the former. Because the latter is like, that's a real performance. You're engaging people, you're bringing immediate comic relief to people. It's a show. Whereas hand modeling is like, it's for sales. You would not believe how many nail polish Instagrams I follow.
Have you submitted anything?
No, because a lot of them are just influencers.
So a lot of these are just kind of going on their own.
Yeah, I don't really know what the goal of being an influencer is. I mean, I'm sure fame and fortune, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
What would you want out of a hand modeling career?
Money and little working. No, I mean,
Just not working.
no, I would want a way to support myself I don't have to be in front of my computer from 9 to 5 plus during the day, so I can use those hours to, write. or perform or work on more creative stuff. It's more in all seriousness, it's to find a way to support myself so I can do creative work.
Gotcha.
Because I find it difficult to write and go to shows and stuff after working 8 hours a day. And some might argue
Oh, absolutely.
you need to work on your discipline. That's probably true, but let's also be realistic with ourselves.
No, yeah. I mean, if you actually sit down and have a real job, trying to focus on almost anything else for a long period of time is difficult
Hmm.
because naturally you want to do something that doesn't make you feel like not necessarily work, but make the gears turn,
Hmm.
right?
At the end of the workday, I kind of just want to turn my brain off. And when I'm
Right.
trying to write jokes, my brain is on at maximum capacity because I'm like, anything that might fly through my mind that is remotely funny, I need to write down and then see if I can build off of that. And so it's like my mind is racing. So I need to not do that for a little bit to be a functioning human being.
When do you normally do your writing then? Do you have a certain methodology or does it just come randomly? Or is there a period of time?
A lot of it, my ideas for jokes, at least the good ones, come pretty randomly, and I carry around a notebook with me. So if they do come to me like while I'm on the subway or something, then I'll write it down, and so I can flesh it out later. I've been trying to write more consistently recently, and with that, I'm kind of playing with different methodologies. But I find after work, I'll take a break and then I'll write maybe from like 10 to 11 or 10 to 12, and then like read a little bit from when I stop writing to before I go to sleep to kind of turn my brain off. So I'd say mostly late at night. I'm a night owl anyway. And it's happened before where like am, I've already like turned off my light and I'm trying to fall asleep and I have an idea for a joke. So I turn my light back on and I type it out really quick and then put my computer away so I can go to bed. Because if I have the idea for a joke and I don't write it down, it's going to keep me up. So I've done that a few times. And if that happens, like that's usually a pretty good bit. If I have to sit down and force something out, I feel like it's not as good. But it's also been a while since I've performed consistently. So I think it's just hard for me to tell right now.
Are they still doing 5 minute sets when you go to the park?
Yeah. The one that I signed up for on Saturday afternoon is 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is what you're performing written after the pandemic?
Yeah, what I did last weekend, I wrote also last weekend. I've written some stuff this week that I think I'll perform on Saturday, and I think I'll have time to integrate some stuff that I wrote before the pandemic. And I think that's a little bit funnier, so maybe I'll try to do that. But I also think so much is happening in the world right now that if you're not talking about that, even in your jokes, it's very easy to lose the audience. Like,
You think so? You think people want to hear about the pandemic or jokes about the
I
pandemic?
mean, yes and no. I don't think entirely like my set should be about, how I'm talking to inanimate objects in my apartment, but I do think if you go out there and you do 5 minutes on like your dating life, how it was in February, then it's like it seems a little bit detached from everything that's happening. And so much of stand up is personal that I find if you don't share at least a little bit of your personal experience lately, I don't know if it's worse, but it just is.
It might not come off as authentic.
Yeah, I just think it's not meaningless, but I think it is less resonant.
Again, that connection with the audience, it's a relationship.
Yeah. But I could be entirely wrong. And people just don't think I'm funny and hard stop. But who's to say really?
Well, I'm sure you're going to get a Netflix special pretty
Pretty
soon.
soon. Yeah. I think in the next 18 months with the way I'm pacing, it's pretty promising.
Well, I mean, I'm rooting for you. And look, before the pandemic, you were funny. I don't know about after the pandemic. I have no comment.
To have no comment, I will say objectively, you've laughed. I have made you laugh even several times in this conversation. So I think you think I'm funny.
You're still a little
Okay.
funny. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Last question for you out of curiosity. We are recording right before the vice presidential debate.
Mhm.
Do you have any predictions? Do you think they'll be screaming like Trump and Biden, or do you think it's just going to be boring and everyone's just going to fall asleep?
Hmm. I don't think it will be as, I don't even have a word to describe the presidential debate. Unruly, unhinged. I don't think it will be as unruly and unhinged as the presidential debate. I don't think it will be therefore as entertaining. And I don't think that a debate should necessarily be entertaining. I don't think that's a good thing for especially a presidential debate. But I like to think it will be a little bit more civil. Um, I don't. I'm not like amped to watch it. I'm going to because I'm trying to be informed. But I mean, following all of the events of last week, I have no idea what to expect. Like I truly just have no idea. Now I feel like at this point, nothing really surprises me unless it's like, yeah. I mean, when I read Trump got COVID, I wasn't surprised. I was like, okay, great, it's Friday.
Yeah, it was almost, when it would happen, not if it would happen.
Yeah.
Not to say that we mean any harm towards him, but, all these rallies and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise, and like I'm not going to spend all my time speculating what's going to happen. Is he going to recover? How long is he going to be in the hospital? I mean, I can only give that man so much of my brain. And at a certain point, I just have to stop.
Wait, do you think Donald Trump is funny?
Do I think he's funny?
Yeah, as in, do you follow any of his Twitter or Instagram
I
posts?
don't follow him on Twitter, but sometimes just because I can't take that in my regular feed, but I do go to his Twitter and read his tweets sometimes. I think he's too dangerous to be funny. I think if he wasn't as powerful, and I think he would be funny, but it's like this is no, I don't think he's funny.
Gotcha. Did you see the one where I think it was like a year or two ago where they were saying that he was threatening to buy Greenland or something like that?
Mm-mm.
And he posted a picture of Greenland, like a natural, mountains and rivers, and they photoshopped a Trump hotel. And he literally posted this on social media saying, "I promise I won't do
Hmm.
this." I thought that was hilarious.
No, I don't think that's funny. Maybe that's why you don't think I'm funny, because maybe we just have different senses of humor.
I mean, the president of the United States is promising not to build a Trump hotel in the middle of nature. I don't know.
To me, it's like
That's a whole new
a Trump
level.
intern knows how to use Photoshop. They got in marketing. Like, congratulations. I don't. Sorry, that sounds so cynical. I'm so sorry, but
It's all right. Well, are you going to vote?
of course I'm going to vote.
Then that's all that matters. If everybody votes, then we'll be in good
I'm voting
hands.
early.
You should vote early and
Exactly.
often.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like playing soccer. Score early and often, vote early and often. Exactly the
Hey,
same.
Trump has literally said to go vote multiple times, so you're only following
Yeah.
orders.
Oh my God. I'm going to scream into a pillow now.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for making the time to be on this podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
And hopefully next time we'll get you a fancy mic because I know that we had a little bit of trouble with the audio, but nothing too bad.
Yeah. I hope I didn't ruin it. Sorry. It's hard for me to sit still.
Oh no, you're fine. Well, again, thank you, and I will talk to you later.
Okay. Thanks, Pablo.